Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button, and if you want to submit to be on the show, take a look at the information in the description.
I'm Kevin. I had this hand, 1-2 no limit hand on the poker app.
Oh, okay. Poker. Yeah, poker. I
Yeah.
don't really play on that app because the first time I played on it, it kind of pissed me off with Big O. I couldn't. You have to like swipe the phone to like look at your cards. It's annoying for me, anyways. But yeah.
I hear a lot of people complain about it. I guess I'm kind of used to it now. So.
Oh yeah. All right. So 1-2 no limit. Okay.
Yeah, it's a kind of similar hand to one of the earlier calls. It's a little bit different. I'll get into. I had 257. Everyone else had me covered.
Okay.
Under the gun opens to 10, and I call from under the gun +1 with ace of diamonds, king of hearts.
So that's interesting. So ace king as a flat call. This is nine-handed, right?
Yeah. So are you just always 3-betting there, or you?
I mean, I think I tend at this level when someone's opening to 5x a straight 1-2 in a non-ante game and it's kind of low stakes, although it is online, so you don't really necessarily know the competition, but 5x is pretty large. I'd tend to 3-bet. I mean, again, what I was talking about before, I mean, I would tend to almost always 3-bet. What I was talking about before with how ace king is occasionally a flat in equilibrium pre-flop from +1 if UTG opens, but that's assuming that everyone is playing equilibrium behind, and the way that pre-flop solutions work, even multi-way, is that once one person calls, people behind are supposed to play so much tighter, and quite the opposite happens in live poker. So, or in say like small stakes app poker. So if the players aren't calling tighter behind, then you'd probably just 3-bet always to get them out of the hand. I think is basically the easiest way to explain it. But you call.
Yeah, I played this whole hand kind of passive and ended up putting me in a tricky spot, and then I've been thinking about it a lot.
Yeah.
It folds to the button, and the button 3-bets to 30.
Okay.
And then the blinds fold, and surprisingly the under the gun better folds, and then I just decided to flat this spot too. Would you have 4-bet there?
Well, I'm going to ask you something. What if the under the gun had called? What if the under the gun had called? What would you have done? If the under the so you flat, right, and then the button 3-bets. What if and you said the under the gun folded. What if he had called? What would you have done?
Is that a better spot to get it in there? Because he's kind of saying that he doesn't have a super premium hand by calling? Or?
Well, I mean, if I played ace king as a flat from +1, and sometimes you'll see this a lot in tournaments too, and you get a button 3-bet, and then the under the gun guy calls, I would back jam there all day long. I mean, there's dead money out there, right? And your play looks very, very strong. So you'll see this play in tournaments at like the 40, maybe like the 30 to 50 big blind stack with ace king early versus early, and then sometimes people will flat big hands too, like aces, play a trap game to keep it like, oh, he could have aces. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that so this button's making it 3x, raising a call. I would probably just 4-bet off here, but put it this way, it's a slam dunk 4-bet if the under the gun calls. Your head's up, so is probably mostly a 4-bet, but again, people in the live chat saying it's a 1-2 app. Probably ace king is the nuts in spots like this, and you probably get called by worse. I mean, the issue here is that if you 4-bet, it's like, what size are you going to make it here? Because if you make it 80 or 90, that's 1/3 of your stack anyways. I guess you could just jam. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't choose a sizing that's going to be like less than 1/3 of your stack, where you're always calling, coming back around, the theory here is that you could just jam. I mean, I would definitely jam if the under the gun called, because if you make it like 85, you're just going to get into some awkward stuff here if he calls, with the pot being like 170 and you having like 150 left. So it's probably very close to jamming, or again making it between like 80 and 90. That's what I would tend to do. I don't think calling is crazy bad. I just think it's a little bit passive, like you said. So you call, and the pot is like $75, right?
Yeah, and the flop is ace of hearts, nine of spades, two of diamonds.
Okay, so
And that,
so you have like 225 in your stack, and the pot's got 75. I mean, you just never ever folding here. No matter what, three pot size bets left. So you check.
I checked the button bet's 50, which is a pretty big bet. Would you get it in here? I decided to just call because I thought like I wanted to keep his bluffs in and stuff like that.
So this is one of these spots where this is kind of an interesting situation because your hand is basically like a set here. If you caught the first caller of the day, this is like a perfect example of what I was talking about. Your hand is a set here. I mean, it's not literally a set. Occasionally you might lose to like ace deuce or ace nine, but the way that you play it and the way that the pot size is, that your hand's a set. So, at this stack depth, when you have three pot size bets left starting, and this guy bets 2/3 the size of the pot when you check to him, I start to think like, well, how would I play a set here? If you call the pot and you're out of position, if you call, the pot's going to be like 175 and you're going to have like 175 left. So you're going to have a pot size bet left if you call. The interesting thing to note here is that if you had a set of like deuces or if you had a set of nines, it's actually more likely that you'll get action than what you hold in your hand now. Do you know why I'm saying that?
Yeah, because we're blocking one of the aces.
Right, because you have an ace, right?
Yeah.
So it's less likely that he has an ace. So it's less likely that he has an ace here when he bets 50. So the board's really not that draw heavy. It's just one of these situations where once you call here, I doubt that the player will continue to fire. But I think for those reasons, you probably just play it as a call. You could probably slow play here almost everything just because you don't need to build the pot up, I guess is my point. You see what I'm saying? Like the pot's going to be so big. I'm just saying that I'd probably be more apt to call with ace king here and raise with a set more often. And I would like min raise. I'd make it like 100. You know what I mean? Like even though you have no bluffs. But so you called, okay? Hero calls.
The turn is the queen of spades.
Okay.
And I don't have a spade, and I check, and he checks behind.
Okay, check. Yep.
So when the river is the eight of spades, which brings in both the backdoor straight and the flush.
Yep.
And I check, and then he goes all in.
Wow, wait a minute. So you check at the end here. Yeah, I don't like a check. So the pot's 175 and you have a pot size bet left. It's under the gun raises to 10, hero calls, +1 with ace king off. Button 3 bets, under the gun folds, hero just calls. Pot 75, board is ace of hearts, 9 of spades, deuce of diamonds. Hero checks, button bets 50, hero calls with 1 SPR. Turn is the queen of spades, and it goes check, check. And the river is the 8 of spades, so the 9, the queen, and the 8 was a rainbow flop board. And the 9 and the queen and the 8 are all spades. With one pot size bet left, I'm sorry, but I'm betting here at the end. I'm probably going to bet like 50 into 175.
So you're bet folding then, or what?
Well, betting, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't almost never expect to get raised unless I was beat somehow. I would probably try to get called by a queen. Here's the thing, like you look so strong when you call that flop bet. Like you always have an ace or a set pretty much. I guess you could have a hand like jacks or something. Or if you were really passive, like playing like pocket queens, but I just think that there's too much value to be left by not betting on the river. With popping 175 and I have 175, I might bet like 40 or 50. If he were to jam on me for like 175 total, so it's another 125 more, boy, that would be a hard spot to ever think that we're good, even though you'd be getting crazy pot odds. But I think that that's what you should take away from this hand is that I would not check the river here to let my opponent sort of do my bidding. Now that you get here, though, and you check, and the button moves all in, I don't know how you can really fold. Now, I know that we have to find some bluffs, and maybe some people will flame me in the chat, but you would think that the guy would continue on here with. So it's ace 9 deuce queen 8, right? There has to be some frequency that the guy's going to continue on with a double barrel in a 3-bet pot if he picked up spades on the turn. Or somehow if he had jack 10 suited and he picked up open ended too. I mean, it's specifically those because it's the queen that comes in, those two specific hands come in on the river, jack 10 and backdoor spades. I mean, maybe not always they're not double barreling, but I would just tend to think that some of the time they're going to double barrel. So that cuts down on the total combinations of those hands. The way that you've played it, which is somewhat passive, where you've check called flop, check turn, and now check the river, it looks like your hand is definitely not as strong as ace king. And just by checking, this is actually one of these cases where I said, even though I don't like, I think the term under-repped is used very poorly. This might be a case where you could actually point to your hand being under-repped in meaning that it maybe looks like your opponent's going to try to bluff you off your hand because it really isn't. Your hand just doesn't look as strong as it is. So I would call.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I just kind of froze on the all-in, and I convinced myself that I was only beating a bluff, but I think the bluff percentage is way higher than I was thinking at the moment. And I actually went into the tank and timed out before I could make a decision, and I have no idea what he had. You didn't show.
Wow. Huh, that's interesting. So you never found out, huh?
No.
Yeah, I would call. I mean, like I said, I think what you should take away is definitely betting the river for sure. I think it's a good play, but I would call at the end. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the call. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call-in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.